U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter urged China to join a principled security network for Asia, saying that the United States would remain the most powerful military and the main guarantor of regional security for decades to come. Carter spoke at the annual Asia Security Summit, also known as the Shangri-La Dialogue, in Singapore. The conference brings together defense ministers from the region.
Even as the United States will remain the most powerful military and main underwriter of security in the region for decades to come, there should be no doubt about that, those growing bilateral relationships demonstrate that nations around the region are also committed to doing more to promote continued regional security and prosperity.
Now, Carter also said some expansive and unprecedented actions by China in pursuit of claims in the South China Sea, in cyberspace and in the air had raised concerns about its strategic intentions.
The United States welcomes the emergence of a peaceful, stable, and prosperous China that plays a responsible role in the region's principled security network. We know China's inclusion makes for a stronger network and a more stable, secure, and prosperous region. In all of our interactions with our Chinese counterparts, the United States consistently encourages China to take actions that uphold and do not undercut the shared principles that have served so many in Asia-Pacific so well for so long. Unfortunately, there's growing anxiety in this region and in this room about China's activities on the seas, in cyberspace, and in the region's airspace. Indeed, in the South China Sea, China has taken some expansive and unprecedented actions that have generated concerns about China's strategic intentions. And countries across the region have been taking action and voicing concerns, publicly and privately, at the highest levels in regional meetings and global fora. As a result, China's actions in the South China Sea are isolating it at a time when the entire region is coming together and networking. Unfortunately, if these actions continue, China could end up erecting a great wall of self-isolation.
Now, Carter stressed the work the U.S. had undertaken to strengthen security ties with countries including Japan, India, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Australia as part of President Obama's so-called pivot or rebalance to the Asia-Pacific. He said that for decades, some had wrongly predicted an impending U.S. withdrawal from the region, but this would not happen.
The United States is fully committed to this principled security network and to the Asia-Pacific's principled future. That's because this region, which is home to nearly half the world's population and nearly half of the global economy, remains the most consequential for America's own security and prosperity. So even as the United States counters Russian aggression and coercion in Europe, as well as checks Iranian aggression and malign influence in the Middle East, and also accelerates ISIL's certain defeat, America's approach to the Asia-Pacific remains one of commitment and strength and inclusion.
Now, in an apparent counter to America First policies expounded by prospective Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, including calls for the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Asia, Carter stressed bipartisan support for continued engagement shown by the attendance at the Singapore Forum of a congressional delegation from both parties.
Regardless of what else was going on at home or in other parts of the world, during Democratic and Republican administrations, in times of surplus and deficit, war and peace, the United States has remained economically, politically, and militarily engaged, as well as, of course, geographically located in the Asia-Pacific. And as I told these new officers, they'll be doing the same in the years ahead and over the course of their long careers. That's because U.S. engagement in the Asia-Pacific is in America's interests.
Now, Carter's speech comes ahead of a significant ruling expected in coming weeks on a case the Philippines in the International Court of Arbitration challenging China's South China Sea claims, which Beijing has vowed to ignore. The U.S. has been lobbying Asian and other countries to back the judge's statement that their ruling must be binding.